Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Aarna Sahu, host of Aarna's News, where on this podcast channel, I aim to eliminate the gender gap in the STEM fields by featuring inspiring female professionals and highlighting their stories and accomplishments to further encourage girls. Today on episode 87.
Growing up, I was told like, hey, maybe STEM isn't for you. Like you're more of the artsy, creative type. And so that kind of discouraged me into even majoring in computer science. But, as I went through the computer science major, I actually learned that being creative in STEM is a strength. Like we need more artsy, creative people in STEM. We need more people who are more visual thinkers to build the products of tomorrow. You don't have to be someone who's, really good at math and puzzles to belong in STEM. And so knowing this strength about myself, like, hey, I'm more of a visual learner, I'm more of a people person, that has steered me in the direction of doing product management. And so the takeaway for this is to just be really honest about what are your strengths and double down on that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Aarna Sahu, host of Aarna's News, where on this podcast channel, I aim to eliminate the gender gap in the STEM fields by featuring inspiring female professionals and highlighting their stories and accomplishments to further encourage girls. Today, on episode 87, I'm pleased to announce our guest, Abigayle Peterson. Abigayle is a product manager for SeekOut, a top human resources technology startup. She has a track record for building successful products with delightful user experiences. Previously, she founded Magnify Wellness, an award-winning nonprofit that uses a community-powered approach to connect youth to mental health support. She started Magnify Wellness as an iOS app and then expanded the passion project into a full-fledged international organization. Abigayle led the 80-plus team of volunteers to build out Magnify Wellness's portfolio of initiatives, winning the title of Top Global Health Innovations from the Bay Area Global Health Competition as a college freshman with contenders from Stanford Medicine and more. Abigayle loves to mentor others and has consulted hundreds of students and professionals on their passion projects and career, leading her to build a highly engaged 11K plus followers across LinkedIn and Instagram and her Substack newsletter. So thank you so much, Abigayle, for being here today. Before we dive into the questions, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Hello, everyone. My name is Abigayle. And so I actually just recently graduated with a computer science degree in the Honors College at Western Washington University. And then I will be working at SeekOut as their very first junior product management hire. And so I'm super excited to continue to make waves of positive change there. And I would honestly describe myself as really entrepreneurial. So outside of my 9 to 5, I really enjoy filming and creating content around building self-confidence. And so if you're interested in also learning how to build self-confidence and glowing on the outside and the inside, you can check out my Instagram at abites_03. Yeah, it's a play on words in there. And in my free time, I really enjoy reading historical dramas and going to the beach.
I love that. Thank you so much, Abigayle, for being here today. My question for you is tell us a bit about your career path.
Yeah, totally. So I will start at the beginning. So as a computer science major, I faced a lot of pressure and felt like I needed to do software engineering. I had no idea there were other career paths in technology. And so I did a couple software engineering internships. And by my junior year, I slowly realized, hey, I don't really enjoy software engineering as much as I thought I did. And so I started doing research about other career paths in technology. And I stumbled upon this video by Chloe Shi. Highly recommend her videos if you're interested in other career paths in technology. And she just walked through the day in the life of being a product manager. And before then, I had no idea that product manager was even a career path in tech that you could do. So I looked more into it. I took some LinkedIn learning courses, and I realized that being a product manager is more of my type of creative. You get to see the big picture and you get to build products from 0 to 1 and bring people from different disciplines together to actually build that product. And so if you're more interested in how technology impacts people versus like the nitty gritty of how technology is made, then product management might be the career for you. And so now to zoom in on after, doing my due diligence with research on product management. So I started reaching out to my network and asked them, hey, I'm really struggling on trying to find a product management internship for the summer. Can you connect me with anyone? And surprisingly, most of my connections got back to me with referrals and opportunities. And eventually one referral came through and I did the interview loop. And that is how I got my first product management role. And so I also, secured a return offer after that internship was over. And so I'll be working there full time as their first junior product management hire. Super excited.
I love that. I mean, that really just goes to show how a lot of kids, younger kids, we all
Mhm.
think that STEM is either you work at a lab and you do some cool like
Mhm.
sciencey stuff, or either you just code away. I mean, those are definitely things in STEM, but there are so many different flavors and opportunities that people don't really know about. Like you learned it in your junior year because of a another content creator, but it really just goes to show how there are so many fields in STEM that a lot of people don't really know about, but if you explore, you can find your best path there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so my question for you, which is a great segue to the previous one, is what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours? And do you have any tips to succeed?
Yeah, that is a really good question. And so, for anyone out there who's listening, I highly recommend utilizing Google. Google is my best friend and it should be your best friend. There's just a world of opportunities on Google that you can just discover, right? Like if I never used Google and figured out product management, never would have been here today. And I might have been stuck in a career 10 years later that I actually hated. And that is definitely, a recipe for disaster. But honestly, with doing your due diligence with research by understanding what a product management is for you, you can be just brutally honest with yourself. Like brutally honest is as in like, what is your strengths, right? So a short story for me is, uh, growing up, I was told like, hey, maybe STEM isn't for you. Like you're more of the artsy, creative type. And so that kind of discouraged me into even majoring in computer science. But as I went through the computer science major, I actually learned that being creative in STEM is a strength. Like we need more artsy, creative people in STEM. We need more people who are more visual thinkers to build the products of tomorrow. You don't have to be someone who's, really good at math and puzzles to belong in STEM. And so knowing this strength about myself, like, hey, I'm more of a visual learner, I'm more of a people person, that has steered me in the direction of doing product management. And so the takeaway for this is to just be really honest about what are your strengths and double down on that. And so the second part of the question was, do you have any tips to succeed? And so one of my biggest tips for this is to be committed to lifelong learning. So technology, as we all know, is a very fast-paced field, and you're always going to be a student of the game. And so by committing yourself to that, you are able to set yourself up for success in the long run. And then another piece of advice that has really helped me in my internship, as well as just my personal relationships, is to be more curious and listen more than you speak. I think that everyone has unique gifts and special abilities that they offer to the table, like superpowers. And someone might think differently than you. Someone might have different strengths that isn't stereotypical of the computer science major archetype, but that doesn't mean that they're any less smart or qualified or any less of a valuable person in STEM. So I highly recommend, being really committed to lifelong learning, and then also being more curious about other people, and then you will go really far, not just in STEM but in life as well.
And it really just goes to show that if we all were of the same type, like if I was a really good puzzle person, I'm not a really good puzzle person. And if you are a really good puzzle person, how are we supposed to make products for people who don't like puzzles? How are we supposed to give a product or market something to people who aren't like us. Diversity plays a big role there, and creativity is such an important part in STEM. And it really just goes to show the stereotypes that people have that okay, STEM can only be this, this, and this, but in
Mhm.
reality, it is so creative, and a lot of people don't really know that, but diversity is a big thing there, and there are so many different flavors. I cannot stress that enough.
Right. Totally agree with that sentiment. And like I said, there's just so many career paths out there for STEM. You don't have to work in a lab, like you mentioned earlier. You could do marketing in tech, you could do product management, or you can do software engineering too. There's definitely a place for everyone in the technology part of STEM.
Absolutely. And for high school students and or undergraduate students or people in academia, even if you don't want to take like a full-on major in computer science, you can always try to minor in something else
Yeah.
and do something you enjoy. Like I'll use myself for an example. Right now, I currently want to major in comp sci but minor in econ. So
Oh,
there's like a flavor there. There's like humanities, but there's also STEM.
yes.
But I mean, of course, maybe it might change to be poli sci and comp sci, and like there are so many different fusions that I can do,
Right.
and it's okay to change.
It's okay to change. I love that you ended with that. Like, it's totally okay to not follow the linear path because everyone's path is different and STEM is so interdisciplinary. So, love that about STEM.
100%.
Yeah.
And this is another segue to my question, which is what is a common myth about your profession that you want to debunk?
Sure. So, something that I actually was intimidated a bit about product management was I was told that as a product manager, it's a managerial style role where you would be the CEO of the product. You would be calling the shots, you would be telling people what to do. And I was like, I don't know if that's for me, especially, at the stage of my life that I want to be in. But I actually learned from real product managers themselves that as a product manager, you actually do not have authority over people. You are on the same level as other people in your team. So people like the software engineers, designers, and salespeople on your team, you guys are all on the same level. Now, of course, product managers can get into more manager style roles, like the VP of product, but as like a junior product manager, that is the same band, that is the same level as other product managers. And when I heard that, I felt a lot more relieved, like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, like, yay, I don't have to like feel this pressure to always know the right answer or always just have the right idea for a particular product feature. So that is a common myth, is that, you are the CEO of the product, that I just really want to debunk out there. So if you guys, start becoming interested in product management in this episode, you don't have to worry about hiring or firing people. You are on the same level as if you want to just be like a junior software engineer.
Absolutely. And all of these different roles, like if you're an engineer or a product manager, of course you do have like the same level, like the same playing field, but of course you're gonna have to talk to different people. As a product manager, you kind of have to bring the product to life, but you do also talk to the client sometimes and you talk to the team. So it's not always managerial, as you said, and it's something that you can definitely bring your own take on it, but you don't have to be super bossy, like, okay, I make all the shots and
Yeah.
your opinion is not valid, only mine is, and just have that type of like bossy attitude that's totally not there. And it's just like the same type of playing field as you said.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so what really helped me is, defining clear lines on like what value you bring to the team. Like in my internship, I was working really closely with the designer and software engineer to build this product feature. And as a product manager, although you have no authority over people, you are fully responsible for the success and the failure of the product. And so you need to be really good at soft skills. You need to be really good at like influencing other people based on the data that because what the product manager does that the software engineer and the marketing person probably usually won't do is talk directly to the users. And so you are building for a user, you're solving a problem for the user. And so that makes you have the credibility to influence the product. And you have to do that in a really masterful, artful way and steer the boat in a sense to the right direction so that you can build a successful, delightful product.
You're like the bridge between the technical part and the marketing part.
Right,
And
exactly.
and like you're just giving it to the client for them to understand like, okay, this is what we have, X, Y, and Z, and this is what we're working on to bring the product to life.
Right, exactly. Well said.
Thank you. And if you could step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
Ooh, okay. I was thinking about this one and something that I think should have been asked is what are some lessons I learned from my product management internship? So fun fact is I actually never had a product management internship before this. And so if you are a high schooler out there who's nervous, like, oh my gosh, I need experience to get experience, that isn't true. Like there are tons of people around you that want to see you succeed who can help you get that first opportunity and get your foot in the door. All you got to do is just ask. That's what I did. So anyways, so the way I would have answered this question is like once you get your first product management internship, it's gonna be a roller coaster and it's not gonna be what you think. Like it certainly wasn't what I thought. Like I thought it was gonna be like a really exciting role where I'm like the leader and I'm like the CEO or whatever, but like that is not what it was like. Like so some lessons I learned from that real quick is, number one is to ask more clarifying questions. So when you're talking to customers, a lot of customers or users don't know what they want and it's up to you to figure out what they need. So asking really good clarifying questions is definitely a really good skill that you just learn by doing. And you don't even need an internship to do this. Like you could like start a passion project and then interview people and ask them like questions about like, what do you think of this problem and things like that. And then the second takeaway that I had was assuming good intent. And this falls into like many buckets, like even when you're doing like a project, like a school project in high school, where you might have like a frustrating team member that you don't really understand where they're coming from. Something that's helped me avoid drama with that is just assuming that they mean well. Like 9 times out of 10, people mean well. 9 times out of 10, everyone wants to get this done. It's just that everyone is coming from like a different place in life. And so it's always good to assume good intent and then like go from there, like be more curious instead of accusatory. And then the third takeaway from this internship is to honestly just in general, like practice soft skills more. So practice speaking really articulately, practice slowing down when you talk. That's actually something I kind of struggle with is when I'm like really passionate about something, I talk really fast. And so as a product manager, you need to like talk to tons of users and impress them with your amazing shiny product. And you don't want to come off looking not very confident in your solution, but you also want to come off very charismatic and you want to come off like confident, right? And so doubling down on that is much more important than focusing on like, how do I crunch data or how do I write docs? Like that is something you just learn like in life in general. So if any of you all out there are thinking about becoming a product manager while you're still in high school, definitely focus on being a great service-oriented team member while you're doing group projects in high school. And that'll serve you very far in life.
So well said. Regarding the first thing about asking anyone for help, I'm going to take this from a student perspective. Um, as a high school student, I've always thought that teachers are just people who assign me homework and just
Yeah.
people I have to ask for like questions for tests. But honestly, if you actually ask for genuine help, like, okay, do you know this person who got into
Mm-hmm.
this school? How did they do this? And if you ask like deeper questions, you will get deeper answers. Um, and it's such a blessing, honestly, because a lot of people don't know that. But for example, today I was talking to my history teacher and I was talking about how I want to build a startup and go into ed tech when I'm older. And
Oh,
so she gave me so many different resources that I have saved that I wouldn't have known before. And it's just such a blessing to know that I always have that up my sleeve and I can always just like use it whenever I want because I have that ability to, ask the question.
wow, that is such an amazing story. Congrats to you. Like, honestly, I think the hardest part about asking a question is looking weak or looking helpless or, stepping into that position of vulnerability. And so my advice to any of you out there who are nervous on asking someone of authority for help is to realize that number one is that they're human just like you. They have their own lives, right? And then second of all is to understand that, hey, you're a student. That is your like part of your identity right now. Like you're here to learn and you're here to grow. And most teachers want to see that. Like they want to see that you are interested and committed to growth and learning. And so by you taking that step, you've proven to yourself that you have the strength and the abilities to accomplish whatever you want. And it also shows the teacher that you're a good student too.
Mm-hmm. And no matter how quote unquote dumb your question might seem, um, so long as you ask your question, people know that your confidence is there because you're asking that question. And there's so many amazing things that can happen from it. I mean, of course, people might ignore you or people might say that's silly, but what if people don't say that? What if people actually give you genuine advice? Like you are earning something out of that, and it is a good thing that you didn't just like didn't ask the question.
Yeah, you miss all the shots that you don't take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what are the best resources slash books that have helped you find your career path?
Yeah. So honestly, I highly recommend watching YouTube videos on the day in the life of a product manager. So that is what I did when I was interested in, becoming a product manager is I would look up day in the life of a product manager. And that's when Chloe Shee's advice came over. It's honestly such a good way to remain motivated and energized. And that kind of goes to this point of how representation really matters. And you can't really be what you can't see, you know? And so the amazing thing about YouTube is when you see someone working in the role and being successful at it, that gives you inspiration that you can do it too. So that's a huge resource that I recommend. And then the second resource that's super untapped and underrated is joining communities or starting your own. So when you guys get to college, Rewriting the Code is an incredible nonprofit for women in tech, and they've given me lots of scholarship opportunities and connections and resources. So recommend joining that when you guys join college. And in terms of right now, I highly recommend starting a club. That is a really easy way to gain experience in the field. Like for example, in high school, I lived in Hawaii and there were no STEM clubs there, actually. There was not even an AP computer science class, yet I was so passionate about STEM. So I started my own Girls Who Code club there. And that, gave me experience to put on my resume. And that also enabled me to build and cultivate a community of other women who are just as interested as me in STEM. So you could do that at your school too. So you'll gain the resume experience, make new friends, and decide what you really want to do.
Funny you say that. I'm actually the president of my school society of women engineers. So
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
great minds think alike. But yeah, I totally agree with what you said because joining communities or making your own is a way you can actually learn first-handedly and just being active enough to like be like, okay, I'm gonna ask this question, I'm gonna do my best, and I will find people just like me. I will find my own tribe if I do take action. And it goes back to what we said at the beginning of the episode that misrepresentation is always going to be there. Like you didn't know what product management was, but here you are in that role because you had the courage to search it up on Google and YouTube. But for me especially, I thought software engineering was just, coding on my computer, or I thought a life in science was just like working in a lab, which of course it might be, but there are so many different flavors out there and different opportunities out there that you really just have to search to find.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. And my question for you is what do you think is a vital factor that shaped your career? What was your life before learning it? And what was your life after learning it?
Ooh, so honestly, a vital factor that really shaped my career is really learning how to actively listen. And this not only shaped my career, but this also shaped my personal life as well. A lot of people say that communication is key, but few actually implement it. And there also are, a lot of ways you can communicate badly, but there's also a lot of ways that you can communicate well. It's just knowing who your audience is or knowing the person and kind of tailoring how you communicate to them. But at the end of the day, active listening is a huge part of that. So a way you can work on active listening today is you can work on doing visual cues, so like nodding as they talk. You can also ask some really good clarifying questions over what they're saying to show that you're interested in what they have to say. And the third thing would be adding your own input. So I was watching this reel the other day, and if you're someone who just struggles with that thing where someone is talking a lot and you're just nodding and nodding and nodding, agreeing, that is kind of a bad communication. Like it's like only one person is communicating, the other one isn't. So you can think of it like a trampoline where someone says something and then you bounce off of that with your own input, and then they bounce off of that. And that's really helped me be better at small talk in the business world when I'm talking with maybe an executive who's on the same elevator as me and I don't want it to be awkward, or if you're like or if you are like getting picked up by your parents and there's a teacher that you really like that's walking next to you, you can use the trampoline method, so it's like that is awkward. But literally, not just in STEM but in life, active listening is so important for you to be super professional and to be really personable.
Absolutely. And it's really hard because social media has taught us that we can only watch a couple of seconds on like a YouTube video or just a couple of seconds on an Instagram reel and boom, your attention is gone. Like I personally struggle with that. Like I just scroll on social media on Instagram and I'm like, okay, what was the point of this reel? Because once someone doesn't captivate my interest in like the first 5 seconds, I scroll, which is pretty bad, but it's taught me more about active listening through an actual conversation like this one, just talking back and forth and have a really good conversation that way has helped me so much, and it just really helps with the learning and talking to people and your interpersonal skills.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree with that. And honestly, you're doing such a great job, like hosting your own podcast. Like, that's incredible. You're gonna go
Thank
so
you so
far.
much. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, because we have some additional time, my last question for you is what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career path?
So when I began becoming a product manager, I said this quite a bit during the interview, but I really want to emphasize is that being a product manager is less about the hard skills, like being good at data analytics and things like that, and more about the soft skills. So learning about how you communicate, learning about how you negotiate, how you treat other people, like how do you collaborate with other people. So if you are interested in this career path, I definitely recommend optimizing for learning the nuances of fantastic communication to build that magical candor in your team and life. And so if you're able to master communication and if you're able to master regulating even difficult emotions, like actually product management is a pretty emotional job. Like you're going to deal with like sales not liking your decisions. You're going to deal with other people hating on you for your decisions. And so it's brutal, like it's not like with other career paths where you just are given like requirements and then you do them. Of course, there's a collaboration in that too, but you are like literally the the bearer of bad news and also the sole person who's responsible for success or failure. You're the one that kind of gets blamed. So right now, product management is a really shiny field that everyone wants to get into, especially in my like circle in college. But I just need to be real that it's pretty tough. But in order to get ahead of that wall, like before you can encounter it, is to just focus on that communication part early on, like literally starting now. And that'll take you really far.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Abigail, for being here today. Before we end off, do you have any last words to the audience?
Ooh, any last words? So much pressure. uh, Let me think. I think that my last words for this podcast will be that your self-worth is not defined by what career path you're going into, and it's also not defined by what your parents are pressuring you into. It's defined by what you are passionate about and just also who you are as a person. Like you as a person are enough, and it doesn't matter what career path you get into, as long as you are making strides towards your goal and you are true to yourself, then that is what really matters in the end.
Well, thank you so much, Abigail, for being here today. I absolutely love talking to you.
I love talking with you as well. And also, if you guys want to stay up to date with my woman in tech journey, feel free to follow me on Instagram. It's abites_03, ABBYTES_03. Or you can also find me online at Abigayle Peterson everywhere.
Thank you so much, and I will have those linked in the description.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Aarna.
Of course. And here are my 3 cents on this episode with Abigayle. 1. Leverage the internet for help and learning. The internet provides access to a vast pool of experts and resources, which allows you to find answers and solutions to problems quickly. Whether it's through forums, tutorials, or online courses, the wealth of information available to you can help overcome challenges in several domains. 2. Understand the role of a product manager. A product manager acts as a liaison between different teams, particularly users and engineers. They translate user requirements into technical specifications, ensuring that engineers understand what needs to be built and why. And 3, gaining experience through asking for help. You don't need experience to gain experience. One of the most effective ways to get experience is to learn by doing and to seek help from more experienced professionals that can accelerate your learning curve. Thus, that concludes the episode for this week. If you want to know more about how I relate to these amazing topics, then stay tuned for upcoming episodes. A free way to support this show is by leaving it a 5-star rating and a review on the player you are listening to. Let me know what you enjoy about this podcast, as it's a chance to tell me what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it too. Once again, thank you for finding me, and I hope we stay in touch with each other. Dito, you're listening to Aarna Sahu, the host of Aarna's News. Toodles!